Hello, my lovely friends. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so happy you're here. Today, we're diving into a very special topic, one that so many of you have been asking for: fast English speaking. Yes! That's exactly what we are going to talk about. If you can understand English, but you feel slow when speaking, or if you know what to say, but the words don't come out quickly, or you pause too much, or translate in your head before speaking, then, my friend, this video is for you. I want to talk to you today like a friend, not a teacher. I want to share everything that helped me speak English fast, naturally, confidently, and without sounding like a robot. And trust me, I was not always this fluent. There was a time I would speak so slowly in English that people would get bored. I would think in my native language first, and then try to say it in English. And by the time I found the right word, the topic had already changed. Sounds familiar? Let me tell you, I totally understand you. Because I was exactly like that. I was shy, nervous, and always afraid of making mistakes. But things changed, and I'm here to help you do the same. This is not a quick trick or shortcut, but real talk. If you listen till the end, I promise you'll have a clear plan and mindset to speak English faster. Not just fast, but also smart. So grab your cup of tea or coffee, relax, and let's talk. First, let's understand why we speak slowly. When I started speaking English, I used to pause a lot. My mind would search for the exact grammar, the correct word, the right sentence structure. I thought I had to speak perfectly, and that made me slow. But here's the truth. Fast English speaking is not about using difficult words or perfect grammar. It's about fluency, comfort, and rhythm. So the very first thing I did was this. I stopped trying to speak perfectly, and you should too. I told myself, it's okay to make mistakes. I'm learning. This mindset gave me freedom. When you're relaxed, your words flow faster. Another big thing that helped me: I started listening more than I spoke. You might think, wait, I want to speak fast, not just listen. But here's the secret. Good speakers are good listeners. I used to listen to native speakers, YouTube interviews, podcasts, movies, and not just for fun. I listened actively. I noticed how they speak, the tone, the rhythm, the linking of words. They don't say, I'm going to eat. They say, I'm gonna eat. Small changes like that make a big difference in speed. Then I started shadowing. What's shadowing? It's repeating exactly what you hear, at the same time, like an echo. Try this with any English video. Play one sentence, pause, and say it exactly the same. Copy the pronunciation, the speed, the emotion. Do it again and again. At first, it was hard for me. I felt silly. But I kept doing it. And slowly, my mouth got used to moving fast in English. It's like exercise for your tongue. I also created a routine. Every morning, I would talk to myself in English. I'd describe my day. Okay, I'm brushing my teeth. Now I'm making tea. Today, I have to go to work. Just normal things. But speaking out loud helped me think faster in English. I wasn't translating anymore. I was living in English. Another thing I want to tell you: please don't memorize full speeches or long sentences. That's not how we speak in real life. Instead, learn chunks. What are chunks? They are short phrases we use often, like, to be honest, you know what I mean? Let me think. At the end of the day, when you collect these phrases and use them often, your brain has ready-made sentences. You don't have to build from zero every time. That's how you speak faster, by using familiar tools. Let me give you an example. When someone asks me, "How was your weekend?" I don't stop and think. I already have phrases like, "It was really good, actually." "Pretty relaxing, I just stayed home." Oh, super busy, but I liked it. You see? These are simple, natural, and fast. When you collect phrases for everyday topics, you don't freeze anymore. Another fun activity I did was thinking in English. I know everyone says this, but how do you actually do it? For me, I started by naming things around me, like chair, window, bag, phone. Then I made sentences. The phone is ringing. The chair is broken. I like this bag. Slowly, I moved to bigger thoughts. When I was walking alone, I'd talk to myself in my head, like, I'm going to the store. I hope it's not crowded. What should I buy today? This helped my brain stay in English mode. I also used to record myself. Yeah, it felt weird at first, but I would talk about any topic, like my daily routine, my opinion about something, or just a story. Then I'd listen to it. And you know what? I noticed my own mistakes. I saw where I was slow, where I paused, where I sounded unsure. Then I'd try again, better and faster. Now, let's talk about confidence. Because honestly, speed is not just about your mouth, it's about your mind. If you are scared or shy, your speed drops. You hesitate. But when you're confident, your words come out naturally. So, how do you build confidence? Start small. Talk to yourself, talk to your mirror, talk to your pet if you want. Then talk to one friend. Then join an English speaking group online. Use apps like HelloTalk or Tandem to find real people to talk to. Don't worry about judgment. Everyone is learning. Also, practice answering simple questions fast. Like, what's your favorite food? What do you do in your free time? Tell me about your hometown. These questions are common. If you prepare fast answers, you'll feel ready when someone asks you. Try answering in 3 seconds. Don't think too much. Just speak. Let's talk about vocabulary now. Some people think more vocabulary means faster English, but it's not always true. You don't need difficult words. You need the right words. Learn the words you actually use in real life. Talk about food, work, emotions, travel, relationships, whatever is part of your world. Learn them deeply. Use them often. And here's one more tip. Practice under pressure. Set a timer and speak on a topic for 1 minute. No stopping. Even if you make mistakes, keep going. At first, you might say, or repeat words. But slowly, your brain will learn to keep up. Sometimes I would even do silly things like pretend I was giving a speech or hosting a podcast. I'd say, Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are talking about confidence. Just for fun. It made speaking fast feel exciting, not scary. Let me remind you, fast English does not mean talking like a machine. It means speaking smoothly, with flow. If you pause naturally, that's okay. Native speakers pause too. The key is, don't pause because you're stuck. Pause because it's natural. And don't worry about your accent. I get so many questions. Can I speak fast if I have an accent? Yes. Your accent is beautiful. Focus on clarity and flow, not trying to sound like someone else. Before I end this video, I want to give you a daily practice routine, something simple you can follow every day to improve your speed. Listen to English for 10 minutes. Podcast, interview, or YouTube. Shadow 5 minutes of what you heard. Speak aloud about your day for 5 minutes. Think in English as you do normal tasks. Record yourself once a week and track progress. If you do this for 30 days, I promise you'll feel the difference. I know it feels slow now, but every small step adds up. One day you'll wake up, and speaking fast English will feel natural. It won't be perfect, and that's okay. It'll be real, confident, and fast. And hey, since you're still here with me, that means you're serious about improving your English. I really love that about you. Let me give you a few more secret techniques that worked wonders for me. not just to speak English fast, but to think in English faster too. Let's talk about something we often ignore: emotion. Yes, emotion is very important in speaking. When you connect emotions with your words, you speak more naturally and faster. Have you noticed? When you're angry, sad, or super excited, words just come out quickly, even in your native language, right? So, what I started doing was, I acted out emotions in English. For example, I would pretend, I'm angry. Why did you do that? I can't believe this. I'm happy. Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I'm sad. I don't know what to say, it just hurts. By practicing like this, I trained my mouth and brain to express emotion and speed together. So I wasn't just saying words, I was feeling them. And that made my English faster and more natural. You should try this. Just take one emotion every day and speak 3 to 4 sentences in English while acting that emotion. It feels fun, and it really helps your fluency. Now, another thing, don't fear repetition. I used to feel bored repeating the same sentences, but now I understand. Repetition builds muscle memory. When you say something again and again, it becomes automatic. I remember saying this one sentence 100 times. Hi, my name is your name, and I'm learning to speak English fast. It sounds basic, I know, but this helped me in real life. When I had to introduce myself in front of others, it came out like a reflex. No hesitation. So, create your own 10 sentences about yourself and your life. Repeat them daily. Morning, night, in front of the mirror. I still do this, and it works. Now let's talk about real conversation speed. You know what slows us down the most? Not vocabulary, not grammar, it's fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of looking stupid. Fear of someone laughing at our English. But here's what I learned. Nobody cares. Really. People just want to understand you. They don't care if your grammar is 100% perfect. If your message is clear and you speak with confidence, that's what they'll remember. So from today, tell yourself this: it's okay to make mistakes, but I will not stop speaking. Even if you make 5 mistakes in one sentence, say it anyway. The more you speak, the faster you get. Confidence comes from action, not waiting for perfection. I want to tell you something very personal now. There was a time I couldn't even order food in English. I'd panic at restaurants. I'd look at the menu and freeze. My mind would go blank, and I'd feel embarrassed. So I started practicing real-life dialogues at home. I'd pretend to order food. I'd look at a menu and say, "Hi, can I please get a medium pizza with extra cheese?" Or, "Can I get a cold coffee with less sugar, please?" I practiced this kind of real conversation daily, and when the time came in real life, I felt ready. This works with anything: ordering a coffee, asking for directions, shopping, booking tickets. Practice these things out loud. You'll get used to them. And when real life happens, your brain won't panic. You'll speak fast and naturally. One more thing I used that helped me a lot was something called a speed talk challenge. Here's how it works. Pick a topic, like your favorite movie, your childhood memory, your best friend, or your favorite hobby. Set a timer for 1 minute and just talk. No stopping, no translating, no thinking too much. Just speak, even if you make mistakes. Then listen to yourself and try again. Day by day, you'll get better. Now, if you're wondering, what topics should I practice to speak fast? Let me give you a list of easy and useful ones. Talk about your day. Describe your room. Talk about your weekend plans. Explain how to cook something. Describe your job or studies. Talk about your favorite movie or book. Share your opinion on any topic, like social media, education, or travel. These topics are simple but powerful. Practicing them helps you become faster in real conversations. Start with 1-minute talks, then increase to 2 or 3 minutes. Trust me, this small daily habit builds your speaking speed like magic. Okay, now let's touch on a big mistake I used to make. And maybe you do too. I would focus too much on grammar. Yes, grammar is important, but when you're speaking fast, you don't have time to think about tenses or prepositions. You need to feel the language. That's why I stopped studying grammar rules for speaking. Instead, I learned from real examples. I'd hear someone say, "I've been working all day," and I'd just repeat it. I didn't ask, "Is this present perfect continuous tense?" I just copied the sentence. And later, my brain understood the structure naturally. That's how babies learn. And you can too. So stop worrying about grammar while speaking. Learn it passively through listening and repetition. Your speaking speed will increase when your brain isn't overloaded with grammar checks. Before I close today's video, I want to give you one last important message. You already have everything you need to speak English fast. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to wait for some magic course or app. All you need is consistency, courage, and a little fun. Make English part of your life, not just a subject. Watch your favorite shows in English. Talk to your friends in English. Think in English. Sing English songs. Write your daily thoughts in English. And most importantly, keep going. Some days will feel slow, some days you'll feel stuck. But don't stop. Fluency is not a straight road. It's a journey full of progress, mistakes, and small wins. I believe in you. You are not alone on this journey. We're all learning together. My name is Emma Carter. I'm 20 years old, and I'm currently a college student in Austin, Texas. I'm studying communication studies at the University of Texas, and today I want to share something very personal and close to my heart: my journey of learning to speak English fluently and fast. The topic I'm going to talk about is fast English speaking. Why this topic? Because I believe so many people understand English. They can read it. They can even write essays. But when it comes to speaking, especially fast and naturally, it becomes a nightmare. I was one of those people. I wasn't born in the U.S. I moved here from Argentina when I was 16. I had studied English in school back home, but when I came to America, I realized how different real conversations were. People spoke so fast. The first time someone at school said, "What's up, Emma? You good?" I literally just smiled awkwardly. I couldn't understand what they meant by "you good." I thought, am I good? Like, health-wise? Or do they think I did something wrong? I was lost. So, in this story, I'm going to take you back to that time, my beginning, and tell you how I slowly transformed from a nervous, quiet girl into someone who can now speak fast, clear, and confidently. It's not a magic story. It's real. It's full of struggle, embarrassment, practice, and finally, growth. When I first arrived in Austin, I lived with my uncle, Daniel Carter, and his wife, Marie. They were really supportive, but even at home, I felt like an outsider. They'd speak fast English with each other, like super casual, and I couldn't follow more than half the conversation. I'd hear phrases like, grab a bite, wanna chill later, or let me know, and I'd just sit there, quietly Googling what it all meant. At school, it was even worse. My classmates, like Lily, Ashley, and Jordan, all spoke so casually and fast that my brain couldn't keep up. I remember once in English class, the teacher, Mr. Howard, asked me to give a small presentation. I knew what I had to say, but my mouth wouldn't cooperate. I stuttered, paused after every word, and spoke like a robot. After I sat down, my face was red for the whole class. That day, I cried in the bathroom. I realized something. Understanding English and speaking English fast are two very different things. So I made a plan. It wasn't fancy, but it was something. Start listening like crazy. I stopped listening to English the way I used to. I began listening like a child. I watched YouTube videos of real conversations, vlogs, interviews, college Q and A's, anything that had natural, fast English. My favorite was a channel called Teen Life in the US. They used all those natural expressions that weren't in the textbooks. I would watch one video 10 times. Not kidding. The first time I'd watch just to get the idea. The second time, I'd pause after every sentence and repeat. Then I'd shadow, speaking along with them, matching their speed, tone, even the way they breathed. This method, called shadowing, changed everything for me. Record and compare. I started recording myself every single day. I'd take a sentence from a podcast or a video and try to say it exactly the same way. Same speed, same flow. At first, I hated my voice. It was slow, robotic, awkward. But after a month, I started noticing something. My words began to flow. Talk to myself, yup. I became one of those people who talk to themselves in front of the mirror. I'd look at myself and say, hey Emma, what's the plan for today? Oh, I think I'll go to class, meet Lily for coffee, then study for the test. This little trick helped me train my mind to think in English and respond fast, just like real life. Get real with people. I pushed myself to talk to real people, even if it scared me. At first, I joined a student club, International Voices of UT, where we had students from all over the world. Everyone was trying to improve their English, but guess what? Even Americans came to join and learn about other cultures. One of my friends, Marcus, was born in Atlanta. He talked really fast, like really fast, and he helped me by slowing down his speech during our conversations. Then, gradually, he increased his speed. I didn't even realize it, but my ears started catching the rhythm. I stopped translating in my head and just responded. Use speed drills, I learned tongue twisters. I know it sounds silly, but trust me, they help. I practiced lines like, she sells seashells by the seashore. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I'd time myself and try to go faster each day. Over time, my mouth muscles got stronger, and I could say complex sentences faster and smoother. One day, something unexpected happened. It was my second year at college. I was sitting with my friends at a coffee shop called Blue Bean Cafe near campus. We were just chatting, and suddenly, Ashley looked at me and said, Emma, you talk like you've been born here, like your English is so fast now. You're literally one of us. That moment, I can't explain how happy I felt. It wasn't just about speaking English, it was about feeling belonging. That day, I went home and told myself, "You did it." But I also realized it's a journey that never really ends. Even now, I keep practicing. I learn new phrases, new slang, and new expressions. And I share what I learn with other students who feel like I once did, scared, lost, and slow. So, if you're reading this and you feel like you're stuck, you know English, but you can't speak fast, please listen to me. Speed is a skill. It's like playing guitar or running. You train it. Start slow, then build up. Focus on clarity first, then add speed. Practice out loud every day. Whispering doesn't help. Shadow native speakers. It's the best hack. Talk to people, even if you make mistakes. That's how you grow. And so my journey didn't stop at that moment in the coffee shop. In fact, that day felt more like a checkpoint than a finish line. Let me pick up right where I left off. I walked home under the warm Texas sky, excitement bubbling in my chest. The sidewalks were alive with students hustling to evening classes, scooters whizzing past, and the distant hum of music drifting out of dorm windows. Even though it was late April, the air still held a touch of spring sweetness, reminding me how much had bloomed in me since I first arrived in Austin. That night, I stayed up later than usual, sketching out ideas for my fast English practice sessions. I'd been running them for a month already, but now I felt compelled to level up. I wanted to invite guest speakers, people from different fields, a journalist who could discuss news vocabulary at real-world speed, an improv coach to push us out of our comfort zones, even a stand-up comedian to teach timing and rhythm in speech. 2 weeks later, I held my first guest session. I'd invited Carlos Vega, a local radio host from Austin's KUTX, who spoke faster than anyone I'd ever heard, and with perfect clarity. The room was packed. 25 students squeezed onto mismatched chairs around a long table in the library's study room B. Everyone was nervous. You could feel it in the nervous laughter and shifting feet. Carlos began with a casual, "Hey y'all, ready to ramp up your English?" His accent was Texan, his pacing brisk. He told us about his morning routine in under 30 seconds. Then he challenged us. "Now you. Tell me what you did yesterday, fast. I'm timing you." I watched my peers stumble through their answers, rushing ahead too quickly, only to trip over their own words. When my turn came, my palms were sweaty, but I heard my own voice start strong and steady. I felt that familiar rush of adrenaline, and suddenly words just flew out, almost too fast. Carlos raised his stopwatch, eyebrows high in surprise. "You're already ahead of schedule," he laughed. "Nice work, Emma." In that moment, I realized leadership wasn't just about organizing events. It was about showing people what was possible. Over the next month, our little group transformed into a community. We called ourselves Rapid Talkers UT and met every Saturday morning, rain or shine. We did drills like Question Storm. One person fires off 5 quick questions at another, and they have to answer all 5 in a row without pausing. We did Dialogue Dash, where pairs ran through scripted dialogues at increasing speed. We even held accent adventure nights, where we'd borrow accents from movies, British, Australian, even New York, to train our ears and tongues to new rhythms. One day, halfway through the semester, I got an email from Dr. Patel, my communication studies professor. She'd heard about Rapid Talkers UT and wanted to incorporate a speed speaking demonstration into her class on intercultural communication. My heart leapt. This was huge. On the day of the demo, I stood before 50 students from all over the world. I told them my story, 16-year-old Emma from Argentina, terrified of being silent. 20-year-old Emma, who begged her reflection to speak faster. Then I invited volunteers up. We did a live shadowing exercise. A native speaker read a paragraph, fast, and the volunteer repeated it on the spot. Some stumbled, some nailed it. Every reaction, laughter, frustration, triumphant cheers, filled me with pride. It reminded me how far we'd come and how many more people we could help. After class, Dr. Patel pulled me aside. "Emma," she said, "you have real talent as a leader and educator. Have you considered turning this into a campus-wide workshop series or even publishing your methods?" My mind raced with possibilities. A workshop series, guest lectures, maybe a blog, or even a YouTube channel dedicated to fast English tips. My little Instagram page, Fast Fluent Emma, suddenly felt like the seed of something much bigger. That summer, I interned at a local nonprofit called Language Bridges, which connected international students with volunteer tutors. I proposed a speed English program, complete with shadowing recordings, timed drills, and conversation partners matched by native speed proficiency. They loved it. By July, I was running twice-weekly sessions in the nonprofit's community center, teaching teenagers and their parents. I remember one evening teaching a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Nguyen, who had moved from Vietnam. She practiced the tongue twister, round and round the rugged rock. And at first, it sounded like a tumble of jumbled syllables. But by the end of the hour, she was bursting out the line at full speed, eyes shining. She hugged me and said, "I feel alive in English now." I almost cried. Back in Austin, fall semester rolled in, and I returned to UT with new energy. I'd collected a binder full of exercises, recordings, and testimonials. I met with the Student Activities Board and pitched a campus-wide Fast English Festival. They greenlit it. On October 3rd, we transformed Gregory Plaza into a buzzing fair. Booths for speed drills, live shadowing stations, a Speak You Mind open mic corner where anyone could stand up and speak fast on any topic for 1 minute. I kicked off the festival, heart-pounding, with a rapid-fire welcome speech I'd practiced relentlessly. The crowd cheered. All around me, students from every corner of campus challenged themselves and discovered that speed wasn't something to fear, but to embrace. By December, I had unofficially clocked over 300 hours of teaching, mentoring, and practicing. My own speaking speed had increased by 40%, measurable by the number of words I could say clearly per minute. More importantly, my confidence soared. I no longer overthink every syllable. Instead, I trust my instincts, letting the words flow like a river, sometimes calm, sometimes rapid, but always moving forward. Today, as I type this on my laptop, my internship ending next week, I reflect on how much has changed in just 4 years. I'm still Emma Carter, 20 years old, a communication studies major in Austin, Texas. But I'm also a mentor, an organizer, and a living proof that you can turn your biggest fear, speaking fast in a new language, into your greatest strength. And the story isn't over. Next spring, I'll begin a master's program in applied linguistics, focusing on fluency acquisition. I plan to publish a guidebook on fast English speaking, combining research, real life stories, and practical exercises. My dream is to see Rapid Talkers chapters in universities around the world, places like Tokyo, Berlin, Sao Paulo, where students of every background find their speed, their voice, and their belonging. That semester flew by in a whirlwind of readings, research proposals, and new speed labs I hosted late into the evening. My classmates in the Applied Linguistics program were fascinated by my Rapid Talkers methods, and soon I was co-teaching a graduate seminar on fluency drills. One chilly January morning, Professor Lin invited me to lead a session on prosody, the musical rise and fall of English speech. As I stood before a room of intense, PhD-bound students, unpacking the subtle rhythms that make fast speech comprehensible, I felt the same thrill I'd felt in that first packed library room back at UT. Between classes, I kept up with Language Bridges, now advising their volunteer coordinators on how to recruit and train conversation partners. I designed an online portal where learners could download weekly speed packs, 5-minute shadowing audio files, tongue twister challenges, and a leaderboard to track progress. Seeing a teenager in Detroit improving her words per minute score, or a retiree in Seattle finally delivering her grocery list at warp speed without stumbling, those screenshots in my inbox lit me up brighter than any A+ ever could. By spring, Rapid Talkers UT had gone fully virtual, with chapters popping up at universities in Canada, Germany, and India. I Skyped into their kickoff events, demonstrating a speed dial drill where participants answer rapid-fire cultural trivia. What's the capital of Australia? What's the slang for friend? Name a spring flower. All in one breath. The excitement was contagious. I watched ESL instructors scribble furiously in their notebooks, eager to bring this energy back to their classrooms. One afternoon in late April, I received an email that brought everything full circle. It was from Lily, my first American roommate and friend. She'd just started teaching at a community college in Boston and wanted to start a Rapid Talkers chapter there. "Emma," she wrote, "you changed my life. And now, I want to help my students find their speed." I smiled back, remembering that shy girl who'd hidden in the bathroom after her first painful presentation. I wrote, "Let's do it together," and sent her my updated guidebook draft. That summer, as I walked across the stage at UT to accept my master's degree, caps and gowns billowing in the warm breeze, I thought of every stumble, every sweaty-palmed microphone moment, every shadowed sentence I'd mimicked in my bedroom mirror. I thought of Mrs. Nguyen, Marcus, Carlos, and all the friends who joined me on this fast-paced journey, and I realized speed is only half the story. The other half is heart, the courage to chase after a goal that scares you day after day until it becomes part of who you are. Now, whether I'm presenting at a conference in Tokyo or directing a live workshop in Sao Paulo, I carry that heart with me. I still practice shadowing, because even native speakers have room to grow, and I still cheer every learner who pushes past their comfort zone to speak just one word more than they thought possible. Later that summer, I settled into a small but bright apartment near campus, the walls dotted with postcards from Rapid Talkers chapters around the world. Tokyo's neon skyline, Berlin's cobblestone streets, Mumbai's bustling markets, Sao Paulo's vibrant murals. Each one reminded me how a simple idea, shadowing, speed drills, courage, had rippled outward far beyond my wildest dreams. One evening, as golden light streamed through my window, I opened an email from a publishing house in New York. They wanted to turn my guidebook draft into a full-length manuscript. I remember my heart pounding as I read their offer, an advance, an editor's enthusiastic notes, a release date set for next spring. I took a deep breath, closed my laptop, and whispered to myself, "You did it, Emma. You really did it." Over the next months, I worked with my editor, Alice Monroe, shaping my personal stories, fine-tuning exercises, and weaving in research on fluency acquisition. I shared anecdotes about my Uncle Daniel's Texas barbecue slang, about Mrs. Nguyen's triumphant tongue twisters, and about Carlos Vega's lightning-fast radio monologues. We added new chapters. Well, chapters in a loose sense, since I know you don't like strict divisions, on conversational idioms, handling fast-paced meetings, and even on switching speeds to match different contexts, friendly chatter, academic discussions, professional presentations. As the publication date, May 15th, 2026, drew near, I embarked on my first official book tour. My first stop was Los Angeles, where a packed auditorium at the downtown library greeted me. I taught a Speed for Actors workshop to aspiring performers, showing them how breathing, rhythm, and emphasis could turn lines into vibrant, believable dialogue. The next night in San Francisco, I hosted a Tech Talk Turbo session for software engineers, helping them distill complex jargon into clear, rapid explanations that executives could follow. Everywhere I went, I saw the same spark. People discovering that speed could be empowering, not intimidating. Amidst the whirlwind of airports and hotel lobbies, I found a moment of calm in unexpected places. In Seattle, I drank mint tea with a group of elderly learners who met every week in a community center. One of them, Mr. Takahashi, told me with a laugh, "Emma-san, my grandkids can't believe I'm speaking so quickly at my age." His eyes glimmered with pride, and I thought then that fluency wasn't just about youth or talent. It was about the refusal to give up. One afternoon, back in Austin, I received a message on Instagram from a young woman named Isabella in Sao Paulo. She'd recorded herself reading a news article at twice her usual speed without stumbling, using an exercise from my book. "I never thought I could sound so confident," she wrote. "Thank you for showing me it's possible." I listened to her recording, her accent vibrant, her pace smooth, and I felt that familiar thrill of joy. Moments like that reminded me that this journey always circles back to connection. Each fast word carries someone's story, their courage to be heard. Around that time, I also realized I'd been so focused on teaching others that I'd neglected my own continued growth. So I enrolled in a summer improv theater camp in Chicago. There, I discovered new dimensions of speed, spontaneity, creativity, and the playful freedom to make mistakes on stage. I learned to crank up the tempo in a scene, and then, in the same breath, slow it down for comedic effect. It was a vivid reminder that mastery of speech speed isn't just functional, it's an art. By the time I returned to Austin that fall, I was energized by fresh insights. I revamped Rapid Talkers UT's curriculum, adding modules on emotional expressiveness, persuasive speed for debates, and even a speed poetry slam, where participants wrote and recited poems at rapid pace. We hosted our first hybrid festival, some attendees in person, others streaming live from 18 countries. Watching a student in Nairobi recite a poem in fast, rolling rhythm while I cheered her on from Gregory Plaza felt like magic. Now, sitting at my desk on a crisp October morning, I look back at the shy 16-year-old who froze at her first presentation and marvel at how far both of us have come. I'm still Emma Carter, still 20-something, still a student at heart. Only now my classroom spans continents and time zones. My apartment walls, once blank, are filled with the voices and faces of every learner who's ever dared to speed up their speech. And the story keeps unfolding. New chapters, new experiments, new friends I haven't met yet. I'm planning a virtual reality app that lets you practice shadowing with avatars in real-life scenarios, ordering coffee, negotiating prices, giving TED-style talks. I'm exploring podcast collaborations, co-hosting a show where international students and native speakers have rapid-fire chats on everything from pop culture to politics. I've even started learning Mandarin, practicing a new language's speed and rhythm, because the thrill of speaking fast in a new tongue never gets old. As autumn deepened, the golden afternoon light in my apartment softened into long, gentle shadows. I sat at my desk, fingers poised above the keyboard, ready to sketch the next big idea. A speed exchange program pairing learners across time zones for live 24-hour practice marathons. I pictured a student in Madrid chatting with someone in Seoul, swapping idioms and slang at lightning pace, exchanging not just words, but cultures, laughter, and mutual encouragement. The design would include themed speed rooms like Business Blitz, Casual Coffee Chat, and Story Sprint, each with prompts and timers to keep the momentum rolling. But before diving into that, I reminded myself of the simple truth I discovered long ago. Progress happens one word and one connection at a time. So I closed my laptop and headed to my favorite spot in town, the little bench under the live oak trees by the Colorado River. There, families strolled with strollers, joggers pounded the pavement in rhythmic thuds, and musicians practiced soft melodies on their guitars. I breathed deeply, letting the hum of life around me settle into my bones. A message pinged on my phone. It was from Dr. Patel, inviting me to co-author an academic paper on fluency acquisition to be presented at an international conference in Edinburgh next spring. My heart raced. An opportunity to blend my hands-on methods with rigorous research to reach not only students but fellow educators and linguists. I typed back an enthusiastic "absolutely" and felt that familiar flutter of excitement, the start of another adventure. That evening, I hosted my first Speed Exchange pilot session with 5 brave volunteers: a software developer in Bangalore, a nurse in Vancouver, a barista in Rome, a freshman in Dallas, and a retiree in Perth. We kicked off in my little Zoom room. I introduced the rules: 30 seconds to introduce yourself, 1 minute to respond to a surprise prompt, then rotate. We started slow, just introductions, then dialed up the tempo. We shared favorite autumn memories, weirdest food experiences, and one-line life advice. Never apologize for your accent. Laugh at your mistakes. With each round, laughter grew louder, accents mixed, and something magical happened. Strangers became friends. By the end, eyes sparkled with accomplishment and joy. I felt, once again, the power of speed to break barriers. Back on campus, winter semester brought fresh challenges. I balanced teaching, research collaboration with Dr. Patel, book revisions, and planning the Edinburgh trip. In December, Rapid Talkers UT held its third annual festival, this time entirely outdoors on a chilly morning. We invited local radio stations, coffee trucks, and even a pop-up poetry slam. As I welcomed the gathering with a brisk, articulate call to action, steam from my breath mingled with the crisp air. Watching dozens of attendees sprint through exercises, cheering each other on, I realized what started as my personal quest had grown into a movement of its own. One late night, I found myself wandering past the old dorm where I'd once cried in the bathroom, humiliated after that first presentation. I paused, placing a hand on the scarred brick wall as if grounding myself. I whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for the fear that pushed me, the stumbles that taught me, and the mentors and friends who believed in me." In that moment, I understood that every next step, every new idea, every workshop, every word of encouragement was built on a foundation laid by the shy, determined girl I used to be. By February, my VR app prototype, Speakscape, was ready for initial testing. I invited Rapid Talkers chapters from 6 countries to try it out. We donned headsets and found ourselves in virtual coffee shops, lecture halls, and street markets. I watched, delighted, as participants practiced ordering croissants in Parisian accents, haggling at a bustling bazaar, and pitching startup ideas in a simulated boardroom. Each scenario came with real-time feedback on pacing, clarity, and intonation. As one student exclaimed, "It's like video games for English speaking." I knew we were onto something powerful. And through it all, life continued in its beautiful, unpredictable way. I started dating someone, Ravi, a PhD candidate in computer science, who'd helped debug some of my app's code. We'd spend late evenings talking fast about algorithms one moment and poetry the next, each of us pushing the other to keep up. It wasn't always smooth. Sometimes our conversations tangled in jargon or diverged so wildly I could barely follow. But that's part of the joy, learning to navigate each other's worlds at speed with patience and laughter. Now, as I look ahead to spring in Edinburgh, snow-dusty streets, centuries-old stone spires, and an audience eager for fresh ideas on language, I feel that familiar thrill. I'll share Rapid Talkers and Speakscape, listen to fellow presenters, and gather insights to bring back home. And when I return to Austin this summer, I'll launch the Speed Exchange platform, publish my co-authored paper, and keep building this community that started with my own quest to speak fast. The story of fast English speaking has taken me from a nervous 16-year-old to a 20-something leader, author, app creator, and global connector.